Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Have the Race Gone for a dark night of racing here from the Nürburgring 24-hour layout. We're here for the TSR Mclaren F1 GTR Cup, which is of course a one-make event featuring this legendary race car, the winner of the 1995 Le Mans, amongst other things. Good evening to everyone who's joined us already here early minutes, evening to Martin, evening to Mr. Nookshot of Apple himself, and to GT Welsh as well. Round Robbins is here, cheering for the lovely little lump that is Dr. Hash, of course, on the starting grid today. And speaking of starting grids, I think we should just take a look at that because it is a competitive grid, it's a strong grid, and I am expecting some great racing tonight. We've got both the TSR organizers, that's GT Welsh and VRS Dick. We've got Martin Favhausen and Wake CU. We've got that 24DH with some inside info on the man behind that 24DH and the meaning of the name and other things. We've got T5 Flag on the grid, D-Max. We've got Schosse, the winner of 2 out of 3 races when we held the Green Hell Sunday special. So definitely a driver who knows his way around the Nürburgring. We've got Dr. Hash, as mentioned before, Joe of the Fire, newly crowned TSR GT 300 champion. Sam Digby, runner-up in that series, and also a fast guy. Indeed, we got Halbstark, who also has made his pace shown on many occasions. Sparks 360 making a return to racing here on the channel. At least we've been some time since we've seen him, but of course, lovely to have him back racing here in the TSR. We've got Smilehead, and then I thought we was gonna have CJ, but I don't think he's gonna make it anyway. Evening to Piosco as well. Good to see you. Green Hell, Balls of Steel. Well, I think let's go on board with Sam Digby. This is certainly something you need Balls of Steel to be doing for 10 laps. It's gonna be just around an hour of 20 minutes of racing. Qualifying is gonna be a one-shot qualifying session, and that in itself is gonna be the better part of around 20 minutes with all the drivers having to do a warm-up lap before. The ring is easy, the easiest circuit in the world. Stock photo penguin. And what a great name too, 3D stock photo penguin. And a good point being made by GT Welsh, and one that we don't necessarily always see when racing here at the Nürburgring. Nordschleife is heavy damage. So you really gotta keep the car within those white lines at all costs. It's gonna cost you many minutes having to do a full lap with engine damage. Thus also making for an unpredictable race all the way to the line. It's gonna be interesting to watch. So one thing I've noticed is that apart from very few certain places on the track, it's gonna be more than hard for me, I think, to tell the cars from one another. And Warp Speed Wake is back. That's a bit of a shame. So we check out Smilehead. So it's gonna be on graphics and position. And it is gonna be difficult to call out who's who. Yeah. It's gonna be an ordeal for the drivers. But heavy damage, yeah, that requires another approach than you'd usually see here. off Apple with a bet for 3 cars with mechanical damage on lap 1. And it is a bit hard to see, Martin. I've come to the same conclusion, even though it is going to be intense. Imagine all the lights on the first couple of laps before, or the first couple of laps, on the first lap before the field really stretches. So qualifying, a good point as to when qualifying is set to start. It won't be long, maximum 5 minutes, but I'd imagine it could be even shorter. Evening, Netso. Nice to have you along, mate. And yeah. Your beautiful creation for Hash and Shaz is gonna remain a mystery, an unseen mystery, perhaps indeed. Unless we're lucky. I mean, we will be able to see the liveries of the cars when they come in. Oh, there's gonna be a pit stop. Check out all the cars we need to. Let's hope they don't pit all at the same time, so we get some kind of spread. Let's talk about the rules for a moment, because we are running set of rules that are very close to what was being run in the TSR GT300 championships, except for that the qualifying session is a normal qualifying session here, and a standing grid start indeed also. But tires and fuel are ×1, and we have a rule that states that drivers must use both the allowed types of tires, both the allowed compounds, and that's the mediums and hards, racing mediums and hards, should I say, of course. We're not trying to make it any harder than it necessarily has to be. So last bits of practice going up. Tracks getting reset for qualifying now, so counting on that 20-minute qualifying session. And indeed, Apple, I think it will be very intriguing. And as I mentioned, it will require a very different approach. You just cannot go... Well, I guess you can if you're very, very, very skilled at going absolute balls to the wall at the Nordschleife, but it's just... We've seen even TRL Lightning at the World Finals had a huge moment. So I think it would be safe to say that the drivers should take a careful approach to this race. Piosko, is that a question of you not having enough beer to put in your face, or haven't you had the time to put enough beer in your face to be able to truly appreciate the wonder that'll be this nighttime race at the Nordschleife? And indeed, at the entire 24-hour layout, we might have some lights on the GP circuit. I haven't seen too much of it yet. Oh, just a fact. All right. Well, good old Johnny's always a good companion. I'm beginning to wonder if there's some kind of lobby issue. Thanks, Welsh, and evening to Fairdinkern. But just since no one's really able to do, well, pretty much everything, Aura has joined the race, Aura.io, so and some, yeah, it's frozen for me as well, Sparks. So keeping in the spirit of the last couple of GTSport broadcasts we've done, we've had lobby issues throughout pretty much everyone, I guess, and that's a little bit frustrating. Cue Frozen jokes. Give him, yeah, throw him. Yet more bugs. Penguin, yeah, it's indeed a thing. I think all console racers have been asking for a very long time. The ability to be more than just 16 cars, and that, including me, that's only 15 on track. And certainly, when the day comes upon us that we shall be able to be 24 or even more drivers in a lobby on console, I shall be joyed. So the room just got demolished. I was about to say the lobby just got taken down because of some issue, and we're just waiting for a new one to go up. If my game isn't frozen completely, it isn't. Oh, God, that's nice. At least. And as a precaution, I'm just gonna delete the cache. So if you're just joining us right now, you are joining us at a very, very action-packed moment in nothing happening, and I do apologize for this bit of lobby technicals. As mentioned before, it is nothing new, but it is nevertheless annoying. But as far as I understand, Piosko, in terms of the console, I think it's just something to do with the coding in the PlayStation that doesn't allow for more than 16 players in, I guess, most games. And it seems to be the main reason that we're getting limited to 16 drivers. And it was fine back in the days of the PS3, Gran Turismo 5 and 6 and such. It feels a little bit shallow nowadays, especially when the biggest of the big PC sims allow for over 100 drivers. And basically it's the amount of pit stalls that sets the limit. Anyways, track has been loaded, and I guess that means that when drivers are being called out, it is for qualifying. Evening to Gentleman Racing as well. Evening to Nilsen. Nice to see you two tuning in. It's always a pleasure having you along. And we shall not forget to pick up Jack Wilkinson on the cam, indeed. Shall not. Yeah, I'm short of knowledge. It's what I've heard. It's what I've been told, and so it's what I believe. It might be that you could easily make it so that you could easily have more than 16 racers. They have done it for FIA with the top 24 superstars, and I really think they should bring races with more drivers back, and especially for the finals, it would also just allow for more contenders, more drivers that could take part in the events. But in turn, perhaps they don't have that much money for plane tickets. Who knows? Sorry, PD. Wasn't meant to... Hello, sick John. It's a shame to see you sick, but get well soon, mate. And welcome to the chat. Enjoy the racing. We have Aura.io sitting in, and a little chance to look at the backside of the liveries, at least. We're waiting for Martin 5000, I think. There he is. And yeah, Piosko, bringing back qualifying sessions would mean the world to a lot of us, especially the lot of us doing league racing. And it also seems like it's like if you made FIFA and then only played football games of one half, it would be strange. Oh, we're now in the realm of randomers joining the lobby right up to qualifying. So Joe of the Fire, DirtenDK, and Aura.io being called out as the first ones to come upon the track, and it's all right. They are out on track. They're doing their out lap. And I think they'll do their best not to come on the track. Anyways, it's DirtenDK. And I had a talk to him, or a little chat, I should say, to him one of these days. Turns out he's not British at all. He's actually American, but he was living in Great Britain. That's when he... Where is he living in the UK now? Anyways... He's American, and DirtenDK stands for Dad to 4 kids who downhill, and it's only one, and it's downhill mountain biking, I should say, and it's only one kid now who does downhill mountain biking, but she does so at the absolute top level of the world, UCI level. So should we have any viewers with interest for that kind of stuff? Certainly, I'm one of those myself. I think it's quite cool, actually. So that's a little bit of background knowledge on DirtenDK. Of course, the next drivers are being released. We're also getting answers to the question, could we see the cars on the GP track? Not really. There's a little bit of lighting here through the Hudson back. You can see that DirtenDK is in a gray with a red and white stripe McLaren. Here is Aura, he's in a teal one. Then Joe of the Fire, I suppose, is a red with white stripe McLaren. Indeed it is. T5 Black is in a Red Bull McLaren. And Netso, if you're still out there, let's have a look at Dr. Hash's livery at the next opportunity. It is certainly very, very hard to actually see the cars. And any kind of detailing there should be on him. Here is Sparks 360. Is that the good old... No, it's not. I thought it was the very old Harrod's livery. It's not. Here is Schosse, who's taking part in the recent IGTL event from Autopolis. Man, actually did reasonably well. Of course, a very, very high standard of driving at those events. And Shoss is one of our absolute favorites, at least one of my absolute favorites for tonight. And my bet would go to him, for he is a driver of speed, but also a man of consistency, and he, as mentioned earlier, he really knows his way around the Nürburgring. Here's VRS stick. As we do see, there's a little bit more light here on the GP circuit, though it isn't really a lot. We haven't mentioned yet that Halbstag is also on the grid, so it is really a strong field. Round robin's voting for the dark livery. And that's so Dr. Hash told me that you made the liveries, which is why I'm joking a bit, which is, it is a shame that we can't see him anyways. And they are trying to get to me. I think they're trying to get me out on some slippery ice here. The race organizers. There will be headlights. And taillights. And the sound of passing engines. But actually I do really anticipate I mean, it is pretty cool seeing the cars when they're in close with all the lights in together, especially with that middle beam that the F1 is carrying as well. Up its nostrils there, placed right up between its eyes. It's kind of strange. Or the eyes are placed very low in the face, but on the side of the nostrils. It's a weird face to have, but still. Also, one of the longest outlaps in the world of racing, and certainly a place that, where if you bin it on the outlap, well, it's over. Man, if you bin it anywhere here, it's pretty much over. If you really bin it and hit the wall, it is gonna be, because heavy damage is on, as mentioned earlier. Will we be able to tell who's who in the race? Well, except for with the help of some graphics shown on screen here for N24. Oh, gentlemen, I have completely gentlemen racing, or gentlemen I could say as well, ladies and gentlemen, if we have any ladies watching, Lord knows. But it's gonna be like a radio. It's gonna be like a. It's gonna be like radio commentary in the old days. No, we haven't actually gotten around to actually finishing and getting the Patreon set up and everything. Although we really should get around to it. I promise I'll get it done first thing after this race. I promise you, gentlemen racing. And we do indeed already own the soul of Apple. It's for sale. Should anybody be willing to offer a sufficient amount of something. So we're about to get live with a... a little plastic cup. Well, I don't have plastic cups. I only have proper mugs and glasses. I'm sorry. But anyway, we're about a minute or so away from entering the first lap of qualifying. We do have all the cars on track, and I do believe somebody might have, I think it's Welsh, being in the boots of the organizer. In the organizer's role today, he was a little bit further back than the rest of the cars. I thought someone would have had a spin or something, but luckily it isn't so. Oh, it's a half ginger soul. And then everyone here is advised that you're bidding on a half ginger soul. The soul of off apple. Your Aura IO, making sure not to be too close to the car in front, entering his flying lap. The same can't really be said for Joe of the Fire. He's very close to Dr. Hash. Here, as they make their way down the Flugplatz. And of course, thank you so much, Gentleman Racing. Nice to see you. And I think all the drivers will appreciate your wishes of best luck. And all the best to you until next time. And we hope to see you soon. Of course, it's just a goodbye to our good friend, Gentleman Racing. Indeed, from over there. Josko, I cough up Flugplatzes every morning. Flugplatz. And a lot of it, the gray, brownish, lovely stuff. Watching Dr. Hash almost spin it, as we're now live with qualifying for real. Coming into the first hairpin here on the GT circuit, we do have a small opportunity to see a little bit of livery, but it is difficult indeed. Seen there, Dr. Hash with a 3.5 second penalty. He might be able to scrub some of it off. But the long wait is indeed over. The long wait of that warm-up lap here. Joe of the Fire, the witty professor. Definitely also one of the drivers to watch. Known as a very consistent feller. But as we're running BOP and no tuning today, we might be seeing him suffer, since he's very much a setup kind of guy. Sparks 360, of course, also on his lap. We have most of the cars on their flying laps at the moment, still waiting for a couple to cross the line. But there are many things that are gonna be a challenge for me here with this race. And one thing is telling the cars from one another. Another thing is gonna be telling the corners from one another on the Nordschleife. As soon as we go into the woods, we are in the woods. As we are on board with the before mentioned DirtenDK 24DH. As he makes his way through the very fast section, coming down towards the Schwedenkreuz. A little bit of a lift-off. And then a dangerous one it is. Not too late on the brakes here. Gets sufficiently down in speed here. Seems steady and consistent so far, that 24DH. Having a look at Aura IO and it's Dr. Hash you can see in the background. I feel like it's all of a sudden really important telling you who we're watching. It should be visible in the end on the panel, graphic panel on the left side of your screen. And what's up, GTR? It's nice to see you. And let's see how the lovely lump is carrying a 3.5 second penalty. Still carrying that penalty that he picked up on the, well, first couple of corners through the GP layout. So that's from the very early parts of his lap. But he's managed to put a gap into Joe of the Fire at least. I'm really interested to see how they come through. Of course, it is only one lap of qualifying allowed here. The thing is, she doesn't look that black when you're driving. It looks like you can see a bit more, but that's of course because all track lights and such are beaming down upon, and then the black sections are of course quite dark indeed. It's Sparks 360, as Off-Apple has mentioned in chat on numerous occasions already. A former teammate of his, a former Nukeshot Motorsports driver. He was participating in the Nukeshot Endurance Series. Here is T5 Black, the Swedish survivor here at the F1 GTR Cup. Let's see how he fares along. Had a very strong string of races at the end of the GT300 season. And was really hitting top form. Sam Digby, I think he'll be glad that he is no longer suffering the bodiness of the battleship that is the Mustang Group 3 car. Certainly did seem to suffer with that. But I'm interested to see how he comes along, how Chasse comes along, Dr. Hash and Aura as well. Sparks could also very well be up there. Vera Stick and Welsh. Well, what happened to Chasse? Nothing happened to Chasse. He's on his lap. I don't think anything happened to him. Oh, that was not what I meant to do. To see if something actually happened to Chasse. Nothing happened to Chasse at all, but Chasse is qualifying on the Racing Hearts, as are other drivers as well. Yeah, GTR, you haven't missed anything. We are getting qualifying over with. Chasse here making his way through the carousel, one of the few very distinct parts of the track. And it's not like you can't recognize what's what here at the Nürburgring Nordschleife anyway. Oh, yeah. Yeah, what would have happened to Chasse if this was the race indeed? So it's that 24 DH, he's on the Flugplatz now, and with that he's getting close to the end of his flying lap, his qualifying lap, and let's see what it's gonna end up to be. It's looking to be somewhere around the 8:30 mark, just a bit below that, 8:25 perhaps. Close to it at 8:26. And of course, the Nordschleife and the 24-hour layout as well being different to any other circuit really. And the differences we're seeing in lap times, well, they'll be absolutely massive here. Aura 5 seconds up. Dr. Hashi comes in, he's 2 seconds down on that. Joe of the Fire with a 8 minutes 12. So he massively bests the competition around that qualifying lap. Sparks, he's gonna come home just around the 8:20s. It's gonna be an 8:18. He's second on the grid so far, but Joe of the Fire with a proper lap indeed. Next up is gonna be T5 Black. But he seems to have had some kind of issue because he's way off the pace. And he's getting caught by Sam Digby. Oh, thanks for correcting me on that one, Apple. So it's Schosse. And he seems to be on a good pace as well, but he's not gonna beat the lap time of Joe of the Fire. It's gonna be around the 15s, 16. He's gonna be 6. Gonna be 3rd on the grid because Digby's put in a brilliant time as well. Smilehead goes close to Joe of the Fire. He's in the 14, so not bad at all. Let's see who's next to Has. It is VRS Stick. Oh, and he's on a flyer. He's on a real flyer. He's gonna be pole position, perhaps. Oh, just about not for VRS Stick, but right up there is gonna be 4th best from the Brit. The series or race organizer, as it is here, it's Martin Fafersen. A little bit down. That's gonna be around the 26, I think. Where is Halstag? He is in this last group of cars. He's coming up to the line alongside T5 Black. Here comes Halstag. He goes 7th fastest at the moment. Or 7th fastest is pretty much what he goes. We saw T5. He had some bad luck on that run indeed. Welsh, it's gonna be mid-pack at best for him. Because the leader's already crossed the line at this point. I think he's looking at a 24. Man, I'm bad at calling this out. It's a 26. Oh, so that's how it is. Alright. Piosko always in the top 16. That's a good place to be. So it's Joe of the Fire taking pole position in front of Smilehead, Sam Digby, VRS Stick, then Schosse down in 5th position, and Sparks 360 in 6th in front of Halstag. Aura, it's Dr. Hash down in 9th, the lump. Wake, Warp Speed Wake in 10th position, it's Dad24 in 11th, it's Welsh in 12th, it's Mr. Fafersen down in 13th position with T5 Black in 14th. And last. So a nice little feature here. The race is going to be started on cold tires. So we'll have the race start, then there's going to be 5 minutes of waiting. With just the cars waiting on the grid. And then at 5 minutes of waiting, we'll have the go signal. And then everyone charging down towards turn 1 on cold tires. That's going to be a sight to behold. Oh, and Welsh on hards, that's something we didn't notice. Who did what on compounds and so on. Sounds like a crash-free rep. Yeah, it certainly does. And it's become a trademark of the TSR boys to come up with new and interesting features for each race that it'll spice. It's like you have a very large cabinet of spices, and you are very good at using all the different spices. to spice up the food that's served for us hungry people. We're getting very close to race start indeed now. And with that, we'll have that 5-minute wait to cool down the tires, and then we'll have go at precisely 5 minutes at the race timer. It is gonna be an exercise in taking absolute caution down in turn 1 on blue tires with no chance to warm them up and heavy damage on, and with the prospect of perhaps running an entire lap. Nils, it is perfection indeed. A lot could happen in 5 minutes, that's a good point. And evening, Bambi, nice to see you. Good question if Joe of the Fire is trying to pre-warm his tires here. And evening, Shasse. Oh, so you're trying an evening dare run. It's gonna be a 10-lap race when the race gets underway. That we think we're quite close actually by now. So 10 laps of racing. And that's gonna make it to just around an hour and 20 minutes of action. Welsh, can we see your livery? Well, not as long as you're ghosted. It's really difficult. And so the final has started, and that means we are, strange to say here, we're 5 minutes away. It could be a semi-long warm-up lap somewhere, but it is to cool down the tires of every single competitor here to make sure that tires are completely cold when going to turn 1. It's a kind of a sadistic approach to a race start, which means that we will be watching the cars now here on grid for 5 minutes, and we could basically do a grid walk, I guess. I guess we should. So in pole position for this race, never mind the lights, never mind the counter. That has been not working for some time. Let's see if anybody can resist the temptation to move. 5 minutes it is. There the timer is. That's pretty nice for us to have as well. So Joe of the Fire on pole position, Smilehead second. I was just about to say in the Mclaren F1 GTR, they of course very much all are. It's Sam Digby third, it's VRS Stick fourth. We can actually have a little look at the liveries. Here's Joe of the Fire. Oh, that's a good way to spend 5 minutes, isn't it? Nice livery, Joe. Apple made it. And Smilehead, oh, that's a nice one. Is that CRN, the Clean Race Network, boys? Beautiful livery indeed, that one. Sam Digby, British all the way. Here is a VRS Stick in some McLaren-esque thing. 80s, 90s McLaren-esque. That is, of course, here is a Shasse in some dark blue stuff. Sparks in behind in the bottle job car. That's a beautiful one indeed. That's nice. That is Halbstag in 7th position. In also, of course, in the CRN livery. That's a damn nice one, I have to say. Good job. Good job. Aura in 8th. That's also a nice one. It's a little hard to see when it's ghosted out. It's a shame all the cars are ghosted though. Dr. Hash. of course, sharing a livery with Chasse, but with red detailing instead of green. Then there's the Warp Speed car. He even has it in front there, Warp Speed. And Cam Hatch, of course. And that 24 and 11th. Sponsored by Canyon, the bike maker, or the bicycle maker, the bicycle producent. Nice one indeed. GT Welsh and the... Oh, what is that even? I can hardly see what that is because I just see straight through it. I see the headlights of T5's car in behind. Martin's livery, of course, matching that of Wake CU. Half the weight gone. Oh, we're getting there. And actually a bit more than half the weight gone. And then T5 Black in what could be an well, it's that was the Red Bull car, so it's a little bit difficult when you can't see the sides, I guess. But livery walk done. Still left with a minute and a half. So even though let's have a look at the tire temperatures indeed. Just quickly. Well, hardly really even shows that it isn't really cold. It is of course cold, but is it cold enough? It's fridge, but it needs to be freezer. Of course, good evening to everyone who has just joined us for this race. We are waiting for the 5-minute mark in order for everyone's tires to cool off, because the TSR boys have some sadistic idea about it having to be very difficult to make it through turn 1. Heavy damage is on. We are now 40 seconds away from the actual green light TSR tire coolers indeed. So, as we hear the drivers really starting to rev the engines, 20 seconds now, it's getting close. It's Joe of the Fire to your right on the outside. It's Smilehead on the inside, that's the front row. Behind them, it's Sam Digby to your right, it's VRS Dick to the left. Then it's Chasse, one of the big favorites, in third row down in 5th position to your right. And with that, they're off. And let's see who will get the best start off the line. It's Smilehead getting very well away, I think. He's gaining on Joe of the Fire. And let's see if there will be agony. Is that VRS Dick on the outside? Oh, it seems everybody has been considerate so far through these very tricky first couple of corners. Smilehead haven't taken the lead from Joe of the Fire, with Sam Digby 3rd, VRS Dick in 4th, it's Sparks 5th, with Aura up in 6th, Dr. Hatch, the lump of brown, in 7th position, Chasse down in 8th, so not the perfect start for the German indeed. An evening to Hundy. Good to see you, everyone. Good to see you, everyone. Let's have another look at the start, or just the run down to turn 1. Brilliant move there, persistent one from Smilehead. And from there on, is he still leading? Oh, there's a scent there from Joe of the Fire. As they're making their way. Okay, they're coming up to the kink, the right kink. And then the chicane, and then they're gonna make their way on to the Nordschleife. And now this stream, this long worm of headlights, the snake of many heads, making its way through the night. Oh, Joe of the Fire is gonna try and have a look on their side by side there of VRS Dick and Sam Digby. A little bit of pain trading, as I think Stick takes 3rd position, coming on to the Nordschleife. That was a very good move indeed. Let's have another look at that. Just going on board with Digby. It's the wrong onboard camera. That's better. And it takes a couple of turns for VR Stick to get it done all the way through, but he gets it done, and he's up into the podium spots. Oh, and who was that who went off? Who was that who went off there? Somebody who had a little bit of a moment. I think it was further down the order. Oh, it was Aura. They're having contact with the wall and certainly damaging his car. I could not imagine him not getting anything from that kind of contact. And wrong I am. Either that or it doesn't show. It might be a nice save, and if that is indeed no damage to the car, then it's a very nice save indeed. Smilehead is charging away, and he's built up a little bit of a gap down to Joe of the Fire. And Joe of the Fire has a little bit of a train bunching up behind him for P2 now, with VRS Stick really pushing along. It's Sam Digby in fourth at the moment in front of Sparks 360, who's also just latching onto the back here. Of course, anybody who wants to join Smilehead up ahead needs to get his way through the Witty Professor, who's now holding second position. And it is so incredibly difficult to overtake here on the Nordschleife. Let's go on board with Sam Digby running fourth position, right on the bumper of the car of VRS Stick. And in turn, he also has Sparks 360 very, very close. At the moment, it is British drivers, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And they're all surrounded by German, with a single German in the lead. And then Germans sixth, seventh, and eighth. Evening, Stevie. Nice to see you as well. Welcome to... It's dark and hell had cold tires when we started the race. Oh, a little bit of a slide there for Sam Digby. Certainly a very, very good battle. Let's see how it is going further down the order now. I think it is Halbstack on the outside. That was the other way around. The two CRN boys with an infight. And of course, very difficult to tell who's actually who in these situations. And it wasn't even the 2-0. Oh, it was? No? No, it wasn't. It wasn't even the 2-0. And this battle is Halbstack and Dr. Hash. I thought it was the 2 CRN cars. It wasn't. It's very, 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 very difficult to see. Josh now running in 9th position, so he's had anything but a good race so far, but he's not running with damage. He is, however, running on the hard compound that he started on, and that might be some of the reasoning behind it, and we might see a strong return in the latter stages of the race. And perhaps I'd have to agree with you, Sven, that whilst GTSport is very entertaining to watch people race, for my part at least, I hope it is for you as well, and it's also very entertaining. The racing can be really, really close, but it is more of a simcade game in the end, no doubt about it. And the entire slogan there seems a little outdated come 2019, and was a bit more 1999, I guess, 1997 to be more precise, first Gran Turismo. Anyway, Joe of the Fire having now lost 2.4 seconds, but more importantly, Sam Digby. Oh, what's happened to VRS Stick? He's completely gone, and we've just managed to miss it all along, as he has disappeared and is now running in 10th position. And let's have a look at the state of his car. VRS Stick, he's running with very heavy damage. That's going to be difficult for him not to fall all the way through. Had some kind of off here is T5 Black. He's 30 seconds down on that 24 in front of him. So Some bad luck for him as well. Smilehead, though, I must say, looking impressive at the moment. He's built up a gap of around 2.5 seconds down to the witty Professor Joe of the Fire in second. Sam Digby following the crash, the accident that we managed to managed to miss, of course, of DirtenDK. He's moved up into third position now. However, it's Sparks getting the better of Sam Digby for third. And let's have a look on board with Sparks 360 as he makes his way up on the podium. I think it's just Digby completely missing the banking and the apex in turn of the mini carousel. And now Digby returning the favor, using the slipstream here on the long straight. The DirtenDK. And I'm not gonna go too much into my German pronunciation, which could be better. Yeah, F10 shows car info, but then everything else, and then you have to bring back the last bits of info. So they... Oh, Stick got rear-ended as we see someone is entering the pits as well. That's Sam Digby entering the pits. And he's entering the pits with damage as well. That must be from the contact with VRS Stick. So poor luck indeed for both of those. And I'm glad to hear the German thinks... Or the Germans, I don't know if all the Germans think so, but at least one of the Germans think that my German is okay. I'm glad to hear that, Nils. Appreciate it. My German teacher in high school certainly didn't agree with you, and I only just managed to pass. And I'm only just managed to pass. Anyway, enough about my German, and let's get back to the racing. Smilehead now leading by 3.2 seconds. He's put another second into Joe of the Fire, and as I say that, there's a little bit of a... Oh, and now Halbstack having a go at Sparks here for third position, and actually having great success at it. So let's have another look at that move here. It's Halbstack making his way into the podium places. And of course, the GP circuit being the place for overtaking, as we've seen already, is very difficult. And you won the bet indeed, Apple said. No one was up against you to wager anything because... So Sparks and Halbstack very close between each other in the battle for third at the moment. Joe of the Fire has... he's done well so in running away from those two at the moment, and he's not really being able to match the pace, the race pace that is of Smilehead, because no one was able to match that qualifying pace of Joe of the Fire. I see Schosse having made his way up into 5th position. That's absolutely brilliant stuff. Last time we checked on Schosse, he was 9th running. And Apple, your soul is yours again. It's back. You can have it. So going on board with Schosse, 2.5 seconds down on Sparks and Halbstack. So definitely not out of that contention whatsoever at all. And evening as well to the GOAT. Always a pleasure. Here's Schosse, he's pulling along Dr. Hash for the ride. Aura down in 7th, but he's also making up places. Same goes here for Welsh. It's Wake CU in 9th at the moment. It's DirtenDK 10th. Sam Digby, after his early pit stop, is getting very close to the tail of DirtenDK. Oh, as I think he overcooks it, and he certainly does overcook it. He really does overcook it. Sam Digby has really thrown it away here and damaged his car all over again 3 minutes after exiting the pits. Bad luck for the Brit. He's down in an 11th position and he'll be caught, I think, on this lap if the car isn't responding too well to the damage. So let's just see, did I... No, we didn't. And Digby... Oh, Sam Digby, what have you done? What have you done? What horrible luck has struck Sam here. Perhaps some connection issue or something. And at the moment, watching race leader Smilehead. He's on his second lap, of course, of 10 laps being run here. And he's now leading by 4.3 seconds down to Joe of the Fire in second. He's in turn got a 6.2 seconds gap down to Halbstag in third position. Halbstag has done a good job of claiming that third spot and hanging on to it so far. Sparks 360 in fourth. Schosse, who was all the way down in ninth place at the moment, he's made his way back up into fifth position now and is chasing down Sparks 360. He's also made a second up since last time we checked. Dr. Hash, oh, as Schosse almost goes wide. I think it's on the way down to the carousel. It certainly is. Dr. Hash having lost out a little bit. A lot of banging from the exhausts. So Schosse trying to hunt down Sparks 360. Dr. Hash in behind. It's Aura IO in 7th with GT Welsh on the hard compound. Noteworthy indeed in 8th. Also Schosse, I think, running the hard compounds, if I'm not completely mistaken. He is. So that's really interesting to see Schosse actually running this pace so early in the race on the harder of the two compounds. And what pace won't he be able to execute once he turns on the heats on the mediums later in the race? That'll be interesting to watch. So far he's still gaining on Sparks. Let's check back in with race leader Smilehead now with a 5.3 second gap. So the advantage of Smilehead is becoming bigger and bigger. And Joe of the Fire, oh, was he almost overcooks it. And I think he just manages to keep that under control. That was very close indeed. Let's have an onboard look. Joe of the Fire. That's what you call a very big moment indeed. But it manages to save it. It lost him a second. A little whipple. That was a little whipple indeed. So Smilehead taking advantage of the bad luck and the hard times, the trials of everyone else, which almost makes sense if you say it in Danish as well. And he's still leading Joe of the Fire. Joe of the Fire, though, keeping it consistent, though very close to having a big crash just a few moments ago. Safely making their way through here. Halbstag having put in a gap now to Sparks 360. And he's got the Brit off his back. But in turn, Shasha seems to be stuck around that 2.5 second mark. And just as I say that, he pulls in over half a second through turns 1 and 2 on Sparks in front. That's absolutely brilliant stuff. I want to pull out the replay just to see his lines through that turn 1 and 2, because that must have been absolutely spot on. And it very certainly was. So 1.9 seconds is now the gap. Dr. Hash doing a pretty good job of keeping up Aura in 7th position. And then there's a 9-second gap down to Wake in 8th. It's Welsh 9th. I think it's that 24, of course, in 10th position with the VRS Dick, Martin Fairperson. And now Digby, of course, having made his way to the pits to fix that damage. But it's gonna be a long way back. He's lost a long time. He's lost a lot of time on this lap. And at the back of affairs, it's T5 Black. It's the absolute... it'll take some amount of surviving for his sake that we've never seen before. I think even the Swedish survivor is dying today. Martin Fairperson 12th at the moment. A little bit of an unexpected performance from him. Seems Sparks has had a moment because Shasha is closing once more. And he's lost time to Halbstag again. Let's go on board with Shasha, who's closing on the car in front. Just at a... It's Halbstag on the mediums, but it doesn't seem like any of those compounds are giving up in any way yet. Remind you, Apple, we're running both tires and fuel at times 1. So just normal wear, I guess you could say. What is, however, going to be important is that they need to run a certain amount of laps, fuel-wise, I think, in order to be able to one-stop. And that would certainly be the goal of pretty much everyone here. T5 is in the pits. Good advantage for Smilehead now. 8 seconds down to Joe of the Fire, who seems to be suffering. And he's bleeding time. He's lost a couple of seconds since last we have had a look. Down to Halbstag there in 3rd position. And Shasa also having lost a little time to Sparks since last time we had a look. But as always on the Nordschleife is waving back and forth. And it's the way it will always be, I guess. There in 6th position is Dr. Hash. Goats escape. Through the... Ooh, Dr. Hash with a little bit of a moment before the carousel on exit of the hairpin. And that in turn made it possible for Aura to make up a little bit of time, but he seemed to get a bad exit off the carousel afterwards, and that lost him a bit of time. Sparks still 1.5 seconds in front of Chasse, and that gap seems to just hover between 1 and 2.5 seconds. And evening to T5, nice to see you. Seems like you had some very bad luck indeed from turn 1 or what, pretty much. Having a look back with Smilehead, our race leader. He's doing a brilliant job on the 3rd lap of racing here. He's it's not too far from completing it as he's entering the last section of corners on the Nordschleife. Crash woke up the kids. Yeah, okay, that's bad luck indeed. That's what you call bad luck, I guess. I think I have to tell Stella to have the race dog to stop chewing on the couch. Just a second. So with the couch safe, I am back. And Stevie, that's a good question. I think the real bad luck... Oh, we have pit stops from the leading cars. That's Joe of the Fire, Halbstack, and Smilehead, all pitting in on the medium compound. And that's going to leave Sparks, 360, and Chasse in the lead on the hards. It's going to be interesting to see how it folds out from here on. But as I was saying, I think the question is, or I think the real piece of bad luck is having a crash that wakes up the kids from you saying a dirty word or something, I don't know. Here, Joe of the Fire, refueling. It's gonna be a brim tank on the hard compound, and he's gonna be hoping that it's gonna last him the rest of the race. That 24 entering as well. So now it's a bit of a different race order, with Sparks 360 leading Chasse 97, Dr. Hash, Aura, and then Smilehead having exited the pits in 5th position in front of Halbstack and Wake, and then Joe of the Fire down in 8th. But Smilehead might have put on less fuel. He might be aiming for a 2-stopper here. Sparks is indeed in the lead, Apple. The Apple getting very excited here. So excited he almost bubbles over and turns into a bottle of cider, I guess. Sparks doing a fine job so far of keeping some kind of gap down to Chasse, but now I think Chasse is going to be getting close enough to be getting within the slipstream of Sparks in front, and that in turn is going to make for for some proper gaining. But then here onto the Flugplatz, the correct Flugplatz. Anyway, it's just outside of the magical 0.8 of a second, and it is seeming like he's not really gaining. Oh, he is. Is he? No, he's not. Oh, it's just hovering around those that second mark here. Smilehead in third position. So he's made up places. Smilehead having made up places on both Dr. Hash and Aura here. That's or is it a bit of team play? That might also be the case. Wake CU in 7th. Joe of the Fire is gonna lose out, I think, on this one. Welsh running with a 5-second penalty at the moment. And then it's VRS Stick, that 24 Sam Digby, and that 24 still locked in a tight fight for 11th position. Oh, what does it look like? A little bit of a slide there from that 24, but was it? But was it? It looked more like a little bit of a jump, maybe even. Anyway, Shots is now really getting close. And I think we have a battle really now developing for the lead of this race. And if nothing else, the virtual lead of this race, because Smilehead, having made his way up to third position, he now has clean air to charge ahead on fresh, hard compound tires that could be a little faster than the tires, after all, 4 laps old, the tires of Sparks and Schosse. So we're on board with Sparks 360. He's on a personal best lap at the moment. Our fastest lap of the race so far set by Smilehead at an 8:11.9. That's a brilliant lap time. That would have been a pole time in qualifying here on board with Schosse now. It's also apparent that nobody wants to overcook it here, and I think these two drivers very much know that it could be over in the blink of an eye. I think. Oh, and as I say that, Sparks has a huge moment indeed. Let's have another look at what happened. Oh, I think he's now overtaken. He's now taken the lead in save of the day. I guess that was a brilliant one indeed. Of course, also should be said, a very good evening to everyone who has joined us here mid-race. We are about getting close to halfway through this night race at the Nürburgring 24-hour layout. It's Sparks 360 leading, virtually at least, in front of Schosse, but Smilehead in third place. He has had his first pit stop already, and he's really charging along here. So we could very well be looking at Smilehead. Oh, Smilehead goes all wrong. Just as we were talking about it, let's have another look at that. Gets airborne, but that's not the culprit in the situation. The car gets out of control, and oh my, poor luck for Smilehead. And that could be his race done and over with, and I'm afraid it is. And Sparks has lost all of his advantage down to Schosse. Alright, sorry, he's actually built a little bit upon it. That was down to just half a second before. Huge F there. 13 cars left running now. And that's actually down to 12 because I think we can take T5 Black as a parked in pit. All those mechanics might just be working overtime. Sparks is now entering the pits. That's for his first pit stop. And that means that Schosse has been fuel saving enough in order to do another lap. Sparks felt the need to come in now. Dr. Hash also pitting in at the start of lap 5. With 6 laps of racing to go, so it's a good question whether they'll actually be able to one-stop it at all or not. Schosse certainly going for the one-stop here, and that might be what will decide this one a pit stop. Of course, it's going to take some time here. GT Welsh also pitting in from 8th position. That's going to be with Dr. Hash exiting the pits. And as we mentioned before, here is Welsh. Oh, that's the mission spin now of GG Welsh. Finally having a look at that livery. Apple, I think. Yes, Schosse is trying a one-stop. And he, by the look of things, he's pulling it off. He's been fuel saving on a different level from the rest of the field now. Aura up into 2nd position. But has he pitted yet? He has not pitted yet. I'm quite sure as Halbstack just throws one up the inside. And that looked to be coming out of absolute nowhere. Of course, these two drivers, are they teammates even, or was this just a crazy send up the inside? I think that was brilliant stuff from Halbstack to take 2nd position indeed. And now he's got a penalty. So that's not good. Joe of the Fire is back up into 4th. And given he was having a fight of his own when the first place to keep up with Smilehead, but then also just to actually get up there and battle with him. Well, that's not a problem anymore, but now it's gonna be Schosse. Of course, also Halbstack. Let's see, where is Halbstack, having pitted on lap 3? So Halbstack a definite 2-stopper. I think Aura would be the same here. No, Aura also going for the 1-stopper. So that's an interesting one. Both Aura and Schosse on point for the one-stop strategy so far. And having a look at the gaps, it's a massive 14.7 second gap from Chasse down to Halbstag in second. Halbstag having put in a good gap to Aura. Aura definitely fuel saving to make that one stop work for him. Joe of the Fire is now 4.7 seconds up on Sparks. At the moment we have Wake CU running 6th with Dr. Hash in 7th. And Dr. Hash... Oh, it's Wake CU very close to the tail of Sparks 360 here. So no doubt that Aura is heavily fuel saving. And how Chasse manages to fuel save so much and then still keep those lap times up. It's impressive indeed. But you can see Aura just bleeding time down to Joe of the Fire. And that's actually going to make it interesting because I think Joe of the Fire will just be running pedal to the metal, balls to the wall all the way through. But then, of course, one thing is pit strategy, and another thing is that combined with keeping the car on track. And that is, of course, as always, Alpha and Omega in these races, especially when heavy damage is on. Somewhat realistic damage, we could call it. Joe of the Fire missing the banking on the carousel. So we see he's still just those 4.4 seconds now up on Sparks. Hash. And the question is, was that a lag? Yeah, it was just a bit of lag. Oh, that had me... Oh, that had me... My heart jumping up all of a sudden out of nowhere. Dr. Hash just bouncing into the wall. DRSDK up into 8th position after his early mishap. He seems to be on a very good pace indeed. He's... keeping himself well in front of Digby, Welsh, N24 and Martin. 12 remaining cars running. Here's Chasse, of course, also losing some time to Halbstag. So I would imagine Chasse heavily fuel saving at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how far back these one-stoppers will be. Will there be enough of an advantage? Well, they won't be able to come out in front of, for example, Halbstag and I think Joe of the Fire as well, but they will perhaps be able to be close enough. The thing is that how much slower will they be? Because they'll also have to be fuel saving for the second stint. And on that second stint, well, it might actually all just be coming together come the final lap of the race. Because sure, it has developed into a very tactical race at the moment. Smilehead now here leaving the room. Such bad luck. Chasse making it on 3 liters. Good job. Very nice bit of fuel saving from the German. He's gonna leave the lead to Halbstag. Halbstag on a very good pace at the moment. Of course, also Aura pitting in. And I think As we think that'd be it of the one-stoppers. Let's see where they get out. Chasse still waiting, but the thing is that Chasse now rejoining in 3rd position. Oh, and that's no, he's in 4th. He's right behind Sparks. Oh, let's just have another look at that one, because truly a close call indeed. Just as Chasse was exiting the pits on the outside was Sparks 360 to take 3rd position. Chasse is in 4th. Wake is in for his pit stop. So now it's a new running order with Halbstark leading Joe of the Fire, Sparks 360, Chasse, who was locked in a battle before. They still are, and that's actually incredible that the overcut from Chasse did not work, but it might just work on the other end of things with a pit stop less for the German than for Sparks. Here on to the Nordschleife is Sparks 360 and Chasse. The battle for 3rd position is very much on. And I wanted to mention before, Chasse now on the medium tire, so that'll certainly give him that extra pace. The question is, did Sparks also go on to the mediums? Yeah, he is. So both of these drivers running the racing mediums at the moment, and you can see that they're just gaining on the leaders. Halbstark, however, now with a 20-second advantage. Oh, did Joe of the Fire have some kind of bad luck here? He's still okay with concerns to tires. So Halbstark now 20 seconds ahead of Joe of the Fire in 2nd. And how did that gap come about? I think Joe of the Fire must have had some kind of incident or something. So I definitely don't remember him being that far apart before. And also Sparks is very close to Joe of the Fire indeed as well. Just about 4 seconds between the two. Of course, with all the one-stoppers expected to do quite a bit of fuel saving as well for the 2nd stint, it is something that's going to be holding it up to some degree, I'd expect. Chasse is still just that half second back on Sparks 360. He's not going to be close enough to be able to make any kind of moves, really. At least not yet. Oh, that might be the possibility. No, not really though. As Sparks went wide into one of the slower right-handed corners. So still close fight for 3rd position indeed. Still hanging on to a top 5 position is Dr. Hash at the moment. The lump of loveliness is doing pretty well. It's got a 5-second gap to Aura in 6th. And VRS Stick seems to be making up time on everybody pretty much. He's up into 7th position now after the pit stop of Wake CU. And what a shame he had that damage early on, because he really looked to be a top spot contender and really on pace here today, VRS Stick. Mind you, of course, he is going to have a second pit stop indeed. 4.9 seconds for a second penalty for Halbstack. That's not optimal. Joe off the fire now 21.5 seconds down. And Shasa having gotten through on Sparks. So Shasa having made his way up into third position. And Sparks spread down in fourth now, trying to put the pressure back onto Shasa. I think it's gonna be a tough ask. I have to say the comeback that Shasa has made, the return here, because he was down in 9th position just around the first lap actually. So the comeback that Shasa has made so far has been absolutely tremendous, because he's just gotten into the podium spots and he's chasing Joe off the fire. He's now trying to just put that little bit of a gap in between himself and Sparks, and they're really catching Joe off the fire quickly here. And I mean, really catching Joe off the fire. He's bleeding time, 22 seconds down on race leader Halbstack. And this pace, Halbstack is going to be in for the race win as well. He's at least going to be in contention, given that both Shasa and Sparks is going to be fuel saving for the same amount of time as they did on their first stints. He might be able to run a faster pace, at least towards the end of the second stint. Let us see. The drivers are nearing their 7th lap, and that'll be 4 laps of racing remaining here from the green hill. And here is Halbstack pitting in for his stop number 2. Just as we mentioned it before, it's going to be really interesting to see where he comes out. No doubt he's going to be behind Joe off the fire. I think no doubt he's going to be behind Sparks. Sparks now having gotten back past Shasa, and I think it must have happened on the Dirtinger straight, and that is, of course, gonna make it all the more interesting. I think it's gonna be another set of mediums for Halbstack. If they're even gonna change it here, Shasa goes up the inside, coming into turn 1 on the Grand Prix track. And he retakes that second place. Joe off the fire now back into the lead. Here's Dr. Hash pitting in for a second time around. So brilliant stuff, brilliant racing between the two. It's been going on all race pretty much. They've been locked in close combat for a long time. Halbstack out in 4th position. He's 7.6 down on Sparks. He's 11.5 seconds down on race leader Joe off the fire. Joe off the fire most probably has to make another pit stop. Here's VRS Stick in the pits. Just fuel and tires, I'd say. Welsh now up into 7th in front of teammate VRS Stick. I think Wake will go through as well. And Goat, I think you are very much right on that one. I think this will all come back together on the final lap. All the strategies, all the fuel saving, everything that has to be done. Because it is by no means over left, and even though it isn't all bumper to bumper racing, it's some tactical racing indeed, and it's very much a night race. So it's Joe of the Fire leading by 2.5 seconds down to Shosse and Sparks, but Joe of the Fire on the hard compound of tires at the moment. Shosse and Sparks on the mediums. They have done their only pit stops of the race. Joe of the Fire on a 2-stopper. Halbstag down in 4th at the moment. He's having a status quo with regards to the time gap. Aura is in 5th position at the moment, running pretty strongly. Then 26 seconds down on him is Dr. Hash in 6th, having just exited the pits for second time. For his sake, it's Welsh 7th. It's Wake, CU, Warp Speed, Wake in 8th. Oh, look at the wheelless car. The wheelless car. It's not Warp Speed. Oh, that's actually really Warp Speed. Good job making that car run with no wheels on. Here's Vera Stick after his second stop. He's down in 9th position, but he's only 7.6 seconds behind Wake. And might just be able to close that kind of gap here on the last 4 laps of racing. Joe of the Fire's advantage is just shrinking there. A little bit of a slide. And Sparks has also lost, albeit just a couple of tenths to Shosse in 2nd. I think Shosse got a bad exit though. Just looking at these two cars following each other around, and they've been doing so for most part of the race, I guess, since Shosse caught up to Sparks. Sparks, who was up there early on. Shosse, who was down there early on after a disappointing qualifying run, making a mistake, but he's really redeeming himself at the moment. He's absolutely flying along up through, although he has lost some time. Oh, he's gotten through. Oh, he's gotten through. He's actually gotten through. And that's me getting tired as well, I think. But those two now getting within a second of Joe of the Fire, and that means my boys have to go a little bit up in pitch, because the lead battle is now really opening up. I think the witty professor is gonna have a really hard time with these two competitors here, because he needs another pit stop. He needs an extra pit stop, and it's gonna be a tough call defending on hard from the two drivers on mediums. But then he's gonna make up a bunch of time afterwards as well, unless he's been fuel saving enough to actually be able to finish the race on. And he certainly isn't going to be able to do that. But he doesn't have damage or anything anyways. So Shosse really having caught up there. Sparks having lost a big amount of time. He's lost 5 seconds. I think he already did that before this replay shot. So Sparks having had some kind of incident. And 5 seconds, that's quite a margin to lose in one go. Halbstack having lost a little time also on race leader Joe of the Fire. He's 15 seconds down on him. Aura 19 seconds down, but that also means that Joe of the Fire could be looking at exiting the pits as far down as 5th position. So we are on board now with the witty professor himself, as Schosse is really beginning to apply the pressure. It's just about half a second of a gap down to the German. And of course, to all you lovely people watching at the moment, do throw us a like if you think we are worthy of such, and a subscription indeed as well, if you like to stay in tune and updated to all things half the race gone. We are watching Joe of the Fire trying to defend his lead at the moment from Schosse 97. Schosse just around half a second back on the witty professor now. Joe of the Fire really seeming to lag a little bit grid-wise, and Joe of the Fire is now in for his second and predicted pit stop. So let's see where he will be coming back out. Sparks is pitting in, and the question is, did he attain some damage? Oh, he very much has. So F's out for Sparks, who has had some kind of incident on this lap. And that's very much gonna... Well, he's gonna be able to pit out, I think, in front of Joe of the Fire anyways. But it's certainly gonna put an end to his challenge for the race win here. Poor luck for Sparks, indeed. And once again it upsets the race order, because now Schosse is leading Halbstack by 15.8 seconds. Halbstack then 4 seconds in front of Aura. Sparks rejoining the race 5 seconds down there, and then Joe of the Fire now half a minute down in 5th position after his last pit stop. He will be on fresh mediums, and he will be able to push absolute pedal to the metal here for these last 3 laps, with another pit round also with Welch and Wake CU pitting in for their last pit stops here. And in turn here is Welch, and that mission spin now. And here the Sugar Rush Riva Racing. Wake actually being able to take a position on GT Welch there in the pit lane. Not bad work from the mechanics of his team at all. And Schosse now extending the gap down to Halbstack. And mind you, if Halbstack keeps that 4.1 second penalty all the way to the line, Aura is now close enough to actually be virtually running second. But of course, having 4.1 seconds of penalty doesn't always equate to actually losing exactly 4.1 seconds. So we'll have to see about that one. Also look at this, because Aura in 3rd is beginning to catch up to Halbstack. What kind of a compound is Halbstack on here? Halbstack on the hards, Aura on the mediums indeed, so Aura should have some kind of pace advantage. We'll have to see. And what happened to Sparks? He had some kind of incident, fair and sadly that put him out of contention. He was pitting in to get the damage fixed, and it was only the damage fixed, but that cost him time. And of course, the incident in itself cost him about 5 seconds, and then running with the damage for the rest of that lap also cost him some time again. I think he was suffering front aero and some suspension damage as well on the front. Here, Joe Off the Fire beginning to catch up to Sparks now. Joe Off the Fire, we'd expect him to really have the pace in his car here for the final couple of laps. But will it be enough to... Well, one thing is getting back on terms with Sparks, then another thing is getting past him. And if he needs to or wants to get back on the podium, he'll also need to get his way past Aura, who's an additional 5 seconds up the road. Aura now actually closing in on Halbstag. So it might really just all be coming together here at the end. Perhaps save for Schosse, who's running brilliantly and has been doing so all race. Just seems to have half a gear extra in the end. Overall, the competition pretty much. I think Schosse also having lost a little time, but you could of course expect that if he is fuel saving like we're expecting him to fuel save in order to reach the finish line. Oh, as he just misses out on the apex through the carousel. Halbstag does Halbstag getting himself into big trouble there on the carousel exit. What was that from the German driver? Yes, he goes wide and then he tries to get back in onto the banking, and then the rear end almost goes. Wants to play it safe, but that's lost him all of his advantage down to Aura in third position. Aura now really able to put on the pressure. So that almost went wrong before for Halbstag, and now he's in a position where he actually has to do some light defending almost. He at least has to be mindful of the fact that Aura is now close in behind, although not really close enough to send any kind of move yet. So look at this Aura really tagging along to the backside of Halbstag here. And I think he's close enough that he's going to be able to claim second place here on the Dirtinger Straight. Just needs to stay within the slipstream for as long as possible. And then make the move as well as late as possible, I guess. Aura, IO up into second position. Halbstag falls a position into third now. And the more battle these two do, the more time they're going to be losing to Sparks in 4th position. So I had to figure out whether someone was at the door or not. It was just the Don't Cry Wolf dog. Still the Have to Race dog. Getting involved on the action indeed. Schosse still leading Aura now. It's by 22.8 seconds. Halstag in 3rd in front of Joe of the Fire. Dr. Hash in 5th. Sparks 360 down in 6th position. Oh, a little bit of dirt being kicked up by the car of Aura on corner of exit, and that's through Hudson-Back complex here. Then, as mentioned, VRS Stick is in 7th. It's oh, now it's made the bug of showing Aura's stuff down on the left side and 2 all the way through, so it's just gonna do that, I guess. Maybe if we remove everything, it's gonna... Nope. Nice. And now on the Flugplatz, indeed, Abel. And Joe of the Fire, 4th position for him at the moment. Won't be completely satisfying, I would believe. We are on the last 2 laps of racing. And it does indeed seem 23-second gap. It's all down to himself. At least he really needs to cock it up if he's not gonna win this one. So it's Aura running a little bit away from Halbstag's. Then he's put in that 2-second gap now. And he's looking just to increase it, of course, to give himself a little bit of a buffer. With 1.5 lap of racing left. Joe of the Fire is still able, I think, to make it up to Halbstag. Certainly give it the maximum send, and he just pulled in half a second. Oh, there's a battle between Sparks and Dr. Ash in behind. And let's just have a look at that overtake from the Brit. The the Brit gets a superior exit from that left-hand hairpin through the following right-hand corner and does so very well to take 5th position away from Dr. Hash. In other news, the Radish has obtained a vanilla milkshake. I'd rather have a chocolate milkshake or a nana milkshake or a strawberry milkshake. I'd have all those 3 over a vanilla milkshake, but I guess a vanilla milkshake beats no milkshake. Or an au naturel milkshake. Anyway, Chasse looking so strong. Aura is now 3.7 seconds to Halbstag. So he's really building that advantage. Halbstag seems to be losing down to Joe of the Fire is now under 2 seconds. So something really tells me that Halbstag will be feeling the heat on the last lap, as the witty professor looks to be gaining one of those podium spots and looks to make sure that as a nation, Great Britain makes sure that it's not an all German podium here. Fertig, but does it? Oh, that's brilliant, man. That's good stuff. That's a good question. I want to know too. I think Apple really owes us an answer on that one now. And Apple, can you teach us, even if you have to charge? Now it's down to 1 second, so it might actually just be that Joe of the Fire can pull in the advantage of Halbstag, get within the slipstream down to the Dirtinger straight, and then make the pass happen there. Oh, look at the pace difference at the moment. I think Halbstag is somewhat suffering with his tires or fuel or whatever that might be. Let's have a look at his stats just quickly. Oh, he's on fresh, but it is though racing hearts, and of course over the course of a lap, racing hearts is going to cost you some seconds compared to the mediums. And he's just lifting. Halbstag is lifting to let through Joe of the Fire. He's trying then maybe to catch the slipstream, but not losing him. He should have gotten back on throttle quicker, I think. So Joe of the Fire up into 3rd. After Halbstag just chose to capitulate more or less in that direct battle for position at least. Here is Sparks now 20 seconds down on the cars in front. Still not running any kind of damage, of course. And Chasse is on the final lap of racing, still holding on to a 23.1 second advantage. It's going through the hairpin, the right-hand hairpin of the GP circuit. Aura IO is 2nd, and Dr. Hash is pitting in for a late pit stop. And that's because of damage. Oh, Dr. Hash, poor luck here, as he's entering the final lap from the pits to have some damage fixed. That's left rear suspension and rear aero as well. And as you can see, only damage fixed, and then he's back on track. He's going to be keeping that 6th position, but he's going to be losing a lot of time in pits. Poor luck for Dr. Hash. Now the question, can Joe of the Fire actually make it up to Aura here over the course of the final lap? Joe of the Fire, purple first sector. So this might be it. This might be now or never from the witty professor. Let's see as the lap goes on. Joe of the Fire going further into purple territory as he goes on to the Nordschleife. And he's pulled in half a second on Aura this lap alone, so it might be possible. Shout out to our imaginary commercial partner, Nukeshot Motorsports. Seems to be doing his battles with the car. Joe of the Fire, though, is not really seeming to be 100% dialed in with it. And at the moment, he's not really gaining on Aura as well. As we mentioned before, Sparks 360 is now really on an island. Dr. Hash is on an island. Stick is pretty much also on an island with 9 seconds down to Welsh. Welsh with 25 seconds down to Wake CU. Then in 10th, it's Sam Digby, and 11th, it's Martin Favhausen. Dad 24 in for his last pit stop. As he begins his last lap of racing, he's now behind Martin Favhausen by 23 seconds. So Martin gaining 11th there on the last pit round, indeed. I think Shots is just lifting a little bit off his pace here on the last lap because Aura's gained 1.5 seconds. And he in turn is now really losing time to Joe of the Fire, who's now picked up a second on the German in front of him. So Joe of the Fire might just be in for something even better than third. And that's in turn, of course, second. Let's go on board with the Brit, the witty professor. Through that triple apex corner, hit, miss, hit. And then the left hand, tidy-o. Followed by softer right-hander. Still gaining, still gaining. And I think for Joe, the mission is just to get close enough to be within the slipstream at the Dutzinger Straight once again. And he will have a chance to make that overtake happen. Aura also doing a brilliant job of keeping the car in its place. To know that Aura is also on the medium tires, but he might be having to fuel save as well. So that's something interesting coming into play here that we might not have thought too much about. And look at the gap of Schosse. He's of course not taking it easy or lifting. He's having to fuel save heavily here on the last lap, or he's just playing it with a certain margin that might just be it. But he's losing a lot of time on this lap. Of course, he can allow to. He still has an 18-second gap down to Aura. Now Joe of the Fire getting within 2 seconds of the car in front. There, Joe of the Fire now having gotten yet another half a second out of the gap up to Aura IO. We had Piosko mentioning earlier that it's a sexy PSN. I think I had to agree with that one as well. Oh, that Joe of the Fire just losing a little time through that sector. Might just be that he knows now that he's okay on fuel and he can go full gas for the rest of the way. Because in turn they are getting close now, and it is about the last bits and bobs of a chance for Joe of the Fire to get close enough here. And I have a feeling he's just not... Oh, he might just make it. You know what? He might just make it. He might just make it. This is gonna be close. As he launches himself onto the DirtenDK straight, and he's now right within the slipstream. Peter, that's horrible to hear, man. I'm so sorry. It's not even fun, is it? GG indeed. F's out. And Joe of the Fire claiming second position on the last lap here on the DirtenDK straight right before the finish line. Schosse takes the checkered flag yet again here on the Nürburgring Nordschleife. He certainly is a very, very strong contender every time they're here. Let's see, this is going to be a run for the line because Aura is having the slipstream round and Joe of the Fire. And Joe of the Fire just about holds on to take it by less than a tenth of a second. He takes second position in front of Aura IO, gets himself as well on the podium with third place. Evening to Belen. Super race indeed from Schosse, and to think that Schosse on the first lap, of course, he was down in 9th position. He's made his way all the way up through the field to take the win. That's absolutely brilliant. Sparks 360 comes home for 5th position. But who is Peter Müller then in game? Is it... That's a good question. Smilehead? Halbstack for 4th position indeed as well. Strong job there. Dr. Hash home for 6th. It's gonna be VRS Stick coming home for 7th position. Welsh for 8th. So the two TSR teammates close to one another. It's gonna be Warp Speed Wake coming home for 9th, it seems. But brilliant race, Schosse taking the win. That was a strong one indeed. As I mentioned, Wake home for 9th place, not too far in front of Sam Digby, actually only 3 seconds separating the two. And then a bit of way down to Martin Faversen in behind. Joe of the Fire, 3rd with Aura, 3rd. Joe of the Fire, 3rd with Aura, 3rd. That was a proper Murrayism almost. Joe of the Fire, 2nd, that is, of course. Halbstack, 4th, Sparks, 5th. Great race, everyone, yeah, and what a great race from Schosse and everybody else, the way that it came together at the end on the final lap. I think Goat called it some time out that it was gonna come together on the final lap. It most certainly did, and it made for an exciting finish to the race. F's out to all the guys who lost it and seemed to suffer because of the damage, because of those incidents they had. But great on sticking out anyways to the end for most of the guys' sake, and one of those races that certainly showed that anything can happen in motor racing, and it usually does. And with that said, Martin Faversen comes home for 11th position. It's gonna be N24 last of the remaining cars, last to finish. He's gonna come home for 12th position. And with that said, evening to FTN. Nice for thanks for the comment, and thanks for tuning in. The pleasure is all ours, of course. And actually, just thanks everyone for tuning in here today. It has, as usual, as always, been a great pleasure having you all along for some GTSport racing. Congratulations yet again to our victory, the Nürburgring King, Schosse himself, and to the CRN boys, our podium finishers, and all our contestants indeed. And with that said, you have of course been watching Half the Race Gone. My name is DirtenDK, and it has been my utmost of pleasures to bring you this TSR Mclaren F1 GTR Cup this Tuesday evening, which has been a great bit of fun. As mentioned before, thank you all for tuning in, and do like and subscribe if you haven't already. And with all that said, all that yada yada yada, I'm not gonna go too much into the details of it every time at least. But with that said, I'm gonna end it here. It's been such a pleasure, and of course we'll be back tomorrow for the AOR GT3 League on Project Cars 2, with Trals giving you his onboard view. We're gonna be racing from Zolder. We're gonna be doing Rallycross with Joe of the Fire joining in on Dirten Rally on Thursday. And then of course we'll be back next week with more of that good stuff. So until then, hope to see you again, and take care, have fun, bye bye.